What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here. So I thought it would be fun to rank the best exotics on each class, so in today's video we'll be doing just that with the Hunter exotics. The criteria is the general strength of the exotic, but how much I like it will definitely play a factor in the ranking. Additionally, this is primarily focused on PvE, so if a certain exotic is awesome in PvP, I probably won't mention it in the top 10. I'm more looking at stuff that takes a build to the next level. So with that out of the way, let's jump into it. At number 10, we have Omni Oculus. This exotic is capable of granting you and your teammates unlimited invisibility if you're using it correctly, and this can be extremely beneficial in certain situations, such as the Gorgon Maze and Vault of Glass. It also provides damage resistance when you're invis, which helps greatly with survivability. I would consider this exotic the new Guardian Training Wheels exotic. And I don't mean this in a bad way. I crutched invis in the Birthplace of the Vile and Glassway GMs the first season that I ever got solo Gilded Conqueror. It's a get out of jail free card, and if you build around it properly, you can go invis nearly constantly. So this is great for new players who are trying to get the hang of endgame content like Grandmaster Nightfalls. But where it excels in safety, it lacks in damage potency. This is a defensive exotic, but it is so good at what it does, I figured that it deserves a spot on this list. At number 9, we have Liar's Handshake. This just lets you deal an extra powerful punch, but doing this high powered punch also heals you, so you can combo this with a ton of other buffs on Arc Hunter and turn this into a good damage strategy on the right bosses. And the beauty of it is, it requires very little ammo. However, you do need a boss that you can walk up to and punch. This build excels in certain solo dungeon scenarios, and I've used it to beat the shit out of a few bosses and it works wonders. It does require you to be comfortable with in-your-face aggressive builds, but it greatly rewards you if you can pull it off. Next up at number 8, we have Renewal Grasps. These make your Duskfield grenades super big, which is great for locking down lanes of enemies, and it provides damage resistance if you're standing in the grenade's radius. And any enemies that are caught in the grenade will deal less damage to you as well, on top of being slowed and eventually frozen. The beauty of these grenades is when paired with Touch of Winter, it makes a crystal in the middle which can help you get your grenade back even quicker with Whisper of Shards. And with Duskfields already having a short ability cooldown, you can pretty much spam these grenades. This goes very hard in Onslaught as well as high end content like GMs. It's a very strong exotic for crowd control and survivability. At number 7 is one of my favorite exotics in the 6 Coyote. This just grants you 2 dodge charges, that's all it does, but the Hunter dodge can be extremely useful on any class. You can use this to get more smoke bombs to make yourself invis, and this was basically Omni Oculus before Omni Oculus. You can get 2 suspending and snaring slams on Strand, or 2 threaded specters to get out of a tight situation, or both if you run them together. You can get back-to-back reloads, which can be awesome for quick damage windows when you're trying to output a lot of DPS. There are just many use cases for this fun exotic. I've solo flawless the Trials card with it as well as GMs, and I crutched it with invis way back in the day to get my first solo flawless on the Prophecy dungeon and it worked beautifully. It's just a super flexible exotic that works in a variety of cool ways. Next up at number 6 we have Gyrfalcon's Hauberk, which grants your void weapons volatile rounds after your invis, and having volatile rounds on demand can be very beneficial. It can allow you to break barrier shields and apply volatile to tons of targets. And when paired with Stylish Executioner, you can just keep looping this over and over and over. It's simple but effective, a very powerful exotic. At number 5, we have another void exotic in the Orpheus Rig. These give you lots of tether energy back on a single shot tether if you hit lots of adds, or it adds a third tether shot to your Mobius quiver. Both are very effective in their own right. The multi-shot tether can deal pretty good damage, and the single shot can lock down huge waves of adds, which people were quick to catch on to in Onslaught as it quickly became the go-to choice for people trying to farm on Legend. Having near unlimited tethers is very effective for many reasons. It gives your team lots of orbs, and the enemies are disoriented and they share damage, so it has amazing ad clear. As well, it weakens enemies by 30%, making them far easier to kill. These have been meta for a long time, going back to the early D2 days, and they are damn near just as effective now as they were then, despite changes over the lifetime of this exotic. At number 4, we have another exotic tied to your super in the Star Eater Scales. These allow your super to deal up to 70% more damage at max stacks, in addition to giving you more super energy for each orb that you pick up. So you can get your super quicker and the super hits harder. And these can work with any Hunter super, so it makes them very good and versatile. It can make your Blade Barrage or Gathering Storm hit for way more damage, and these are already pretty hard hitting supers to start with. So this exotic is very strong, especially in raid or speedrunning scenarios. I used them to beat the final boss in the Spire of the Watcher dungeon while solo, and they worked great. That boss has a pretty short damage window, so it allows you to output some heavy damage very quickly. At number 3, we have yet another super enhancing exotic in Celestial Nighthawk. I'm so happy that this exotic is high on my list. I'd used it back in the day to solo the arms dealer GM, and it couldn't even one-shot a champion. Well, no longer. Now it definitely can. This had a big glow up, getting a damage buff and allowing you to gain super energy for getting crit kills. And if you get a kill with a golden gun, which is most of the time outside of boss DPS, then you will get 33% of your super back. This thing is excellent now, as it should be. It gives you huge super uptime, and the super can one-shot most enemies in the game from basically any distance as long as you're accurate. And it's the best super in the game for burst damage. While some supers deal great damage, they take a long time to get that damage off. Not Celestial. It is a one and done high-powered shot. Just make sure you don't miss the crit. But yeah, with its most recent buff, this thing is a monster and well deserving of the top 3. At number 2, we have Assassin's Cowl. Most people associate this with the Arc Hunter build, but it can be used effectively on all the subclasses outside of Void. I used it on Solar to solo the Warlord's Ruin dungeon, and it worked awesome. It was great for survivability, and getting to damage phases on the final boss was a breeze. And then right before damage, I could swap to Celestial Nighthawk for the big damage, and then go back to Assassin's Cowl for the next phase before DPS. But if you run it on Arc, then it takes it to a whole nother level. It is the same playstyle as Liar's Handshake, but this time you have even more survivability at the cost of a bit of damage, but you can use the invisibility to safely navigate the battlefield, which is crucial in things like GMs. Players have speedran Grandmasters with this setup in the past, so it tells you how strong it's capable of being. And a lot of people don't remember this, but when it came out in Shadowkeep, it would only make you invis with a finisher. But they changed that to a charged melee and a finisher, and that change made all the difference. When I read that patch note, I knew I was going to use it to solo Flawless Pit of Heresy because, to that point, I was really struggling with the Chamber of Suffering. After the change, I rocked in there with my Assassin's Cowl build and proceeded to easily and safely take out all the enemies and earn my first solo Flawless emblem. It was such a good build, and I really wanted to showcase it to the community way back then, but sadly, I didn't have a channel at that time. But it's a big reason I wanted to make one. I would also use it in Gambit, and it was a monster in there as well. It's just an amazing exotic that is strong in so many levels of content. So before we get to the best hunter exotic, let's shout out a few honorable mentions. Obviously Stompies are great for traversal and awesome in PvP. Radiant Dance Machines have utility in speedrunning and solo damage phases. Sudorachne's Facade is awesome on Strand Hunter and just missed the cut. Shards of Galanor just got a rework and it's pretty nice now, as is Ophidia's Spathe. Foe Tracer and Knucklehead Radar have some utility in optimal DPS phases as well, and Graviton Forfeit is basically a different way to play Omni Oculus. So while those exotics are all good in their own right, I didn't quite think they deserved to be on the list. And now we present to you the best exotic on Hunter, and that is Lucky Pants. They buff the hell out of your hand cannons, allowing them to hit harder than most heavy weapons. They pair especially well with Malfeasance and Warden's Law with Vorpal Weapon. Funny story, just as I had reached 1,000 subscribers on YouTube in the summer of 2021, I made a video on these paired with Ariana's Vow, and to this day, it's my most viewed video. But this exotic helping me to launch my channel is not why I love them. They are flat out insanely strong. They are one of the best things you can use if you're trying to speedrun a solo GM, because having a primary weapon that can dispatch a GM champion in one stun is basically invaluable. It opens up your loadout so much because you have a primary weapon that deals so much damage, and it only has like an 11-second cooldown. On top of that, it works on any subclass. I love it on Strand, but you can truly run these on any subclass, it really doesn't matter. And if you run it on Solar, then Ariana's Vow can also hit like a truck. This exotic is just insanely powerful and one of the best in the entire game. Like, if you have 3 Lucky Pants Hunters, you can roll through basically any content that you want. It's that good. It is also used in a lot of low mans, again thanks to how amazingly ammo efficient it is. I just can't say enough good about Lucky Pants. So let's recap. At number 10 we had Omni Oculus, number 9 Liar's Handshake, number 8 Renewal Grasps, number 7 6 Coyote, number 6 Gyrfalcon's Hauberk, number 5 Orpheus Rig, number 4 Star Eater Scales, number 3 Celestial Nighthawk, number 2 Assassin's Cowl, and number 1 Lucky Pants. And that is going to do it for the best hunter exotics in Destiny 2. Leave a comment down below letting me know what your favorite hunter exotic is and why. I may make a video on what mine is if I get the time to before final shape. Anyways, if you're still watching, then thanks so much for watching to the end. It means a lot. And if you want to see more ranking videos like this, then check out my weapon ranking videos. Leave a like and subscription and all that fun stuff, and thanks for watching. Take care.